Celebration of the life of Graham Moss. My name is Chris Wilson and I'll be taking you through the day today. Best to celebrate the 63 years we had rather than what we're left with. We'll have speakers from the various parts of his life and I'm sure they will bring back many great memories of how he touched our lives. We have managed to put together a collection of photos that will be on the television behind you, and we have collected the tributes sent via various media which are displayed on the board to my right. We also asked for musical contributions, which are mentioned in the booklet. Some songs we'll be playing snippets of during the service, and the contributions are on a soundtrack we'll play after the service for people to have a drink to and listen to. As I said, I've been a friend of Graham's for over 35 years, and I feel that I've known him for much longer. He was probably the most black and white person that many of us have ever known. He lived his whole life in Clifton Hill. He was born in North Fitzroy on the 4th of August 1959, the son of Jack and Joy Moss and the brother of Lynn, and I'm reliably informed he was a good-looking young boy. He attended Victoria Park Primary. He got electrical apprenticeships at Nielsen's in West Heidelberg, then moved on to Telecom and finally to St Vincent's, where he often told me that he loved working there. All his life, Mossy loved animals. As a young boy, he had white mice, goldfish, and his first dog was called Bimbo. He also had many cats over the years, most recently Earl, and Earl was pretty spoiled. One of his regular treats was a shared piece of flake. Earl got the fish and Mossy got the batter. Many of us also listened in bemusement while he and Ted yarned on and on about the escapades of their respective cats, Earl and Amber. Mossy was keen on all sport, but mainly golf, squash and cricket. But his true passion was baseball, which we will discuss later. He played cricket at Fitzroy, but when he first got there he could play no higher than the fourths because he was playing out of his zone, which was Collingwood. It seems like even then he had a dislike of all things black and white. With the advent of sports betting, he would back Collingwood Football Club every year to win the premiership with the hopes of jinxing them. But obviously he had the blow softened by nice collects in 1990 and 2010. Mossy and Colin were regular fixtures at Premier Cricket games over the many years, with Graham often catching up with old friends. They were also among the last supporters to attend Sheffield Shield games at the MCG. Colin used to pack a big lunch with plenty of good stuff to eat, and wasn't impressed recently when he had to pack rabbit food and water because Mossy was eating healthy. At one of the Shield games at the MCG, Mossy managed to take a walk on the hallowed turf. Little did anybody in authority know that he was actually spreading his father Jack's ashes over the ground. Around 1977, just like Albert Einstein, he came up with an equation to combine the two great loves of his life. The equation was P plus S equals G, which was pets plus sport equals greyhound racing. Religiously on Monday nights, he would pick up Norm and they would head off to Olympic Park. There they would meet up with Vin, Glenn, Kenny, Brow and later Wendy to study. Vin O'Sullivan and Ken McClay decided to delve into training and owning dogs themselves, with Mossy as the trainer, G Moss, Clifton Hill. And they had some reasonable success. Graham's favourite dogs were Candy's Room, Olympus and Cyclone Spook, with Olympus winning 13 races for them. And you'll see when the photos come up later on, there's quite a few photos of his dogs in certificates and things like that. All the dogs had a great life at the Moss residence. When it was cold, they would be inside in front of the heater, and when it was hot, they'd be sitting on the couch in front of the air conditioning. At one stage, Mossy was frustrated with the dog's weight, which had to be reported to the racing stewards if there was any significant variation. And all the dogs' weights kept fluctuating regularly. Eventually he discovered that Jack thought they looked too skinny and would sneak them out Tim Tams and other snacks from the kitchen. Mossy loved them so much that they couldn't race once they couldn't race anymore, he kept them in the backyard as pets. The last to race was Olympus in January 1987. I'd like to call upon, that's a bit of a summary of Mossy's early life. I'd like to call upon Laurie Mazzucato, who's a legend at Fitzroy, as long as Mossy was. and has known Mossy for around about, give or take, 50 years.
I hear the train a-comin', it's rolling around the bend, and I ain't seen the sunshine since I don't know when. I'm stuck in Folsom Prison, that time keeps...
Yeah, all working. I suppose when I was asked to speak today, I felt very honoured, and also with a bit of trepidation, because I wanted to perhaps do justice to Graham, a man that I've known from when I first started at Fitzroy back in the mid-60s, and that's a bloody long time. And we've been through with the club from those 60s. I suppose my close association really started with Graham when he coached me in 1970 in the under-17 team, which went through the season undefeated and won the premiership. That team in 1970 basically formed the nucleus of the resurgence of Fitzroy Baseball Club in the 70s and 80s, and a return to A grade. Even at the age of 19, and not much older than the kids he was coaching, he even at that stage showed that he was prepared to give up his time to coach junior teams at Fitzroy. As has already been said, Mossy, it would be fair to say, was generally a shy, and at times quiet, conservative character who preferred the simple life, and as I said, loved animals, especially his greyhounds. And he was quite an imposing on the field. As a young man, sport, cricket, and in particular baseball, played a big part in his life outside of work. He obviously possessed the skills like very good hand-eye coordination and exceptional foot speed for a big guy to be able to play the game. On the baseball field, Graham was a colourful character, a fierce competitor, who'd get a little bit fired up in the heat of battle. So that little gentle giant character tended to disappear a bit on the baseball field. And if you happen to get in his way on the baseball path, well, let me put it this way, he wouldn't go around you, he'd go through you. And I'm afraid a few of his opponents learned that the hard way on the field. Mossy played at the highest level of club ball for many years, both through his beloved Fitzroy, and then he had a stint at Preston. Summer baseball in the 70s. He was a respected hitter, a great first baseman who used his height and stretch to get out at first base and scoop up the bad throws in that huge first base mitt of his. And I must admit, a few bad throws from me over the years as well. So I was very thankful that he was a very good first baseman. Obviously, he was also known as a home run hitter, using his size and in those days his ample weight to hit many a long ball over the fence or over the witches' hats. Mossy was really known also for his gamesmanship on the baseball field. One of his favourite tricks was the hidden ball trick. He just wanted to see whether the runners knew why the ball in his mitt, stand around first base and wait and see if the runner and the baseball coach knew where the ball was. And he caught a few people out that way. He had another version of the hidden ball trick where he would go up to the pitcher and throw the ball into the pitcher's glove. But what he did was he had his glove inside the pitcher's glove. So it looked like the ball was actually in the pitcher's glove, and he would walk back to first base and just wait. A particular little trick of his was basically not very well liked by the umpires. Director of umpiring basically frowned upon that practice because it was deceiving the runner. Really deceiving the runner. So from that point on, that rule, that basically was outlawed in baseball. Mossy had some other little tricks that he played on the field. I mean, he liked testing people out. One of the other ones he tried was when he hit a long fly ball to the outfield and it got caught, he'd keep running around first base. He wouldn't stop. And instead of running off the field, he kept running. So the fielding team thought, oh, this guy's still running. He must be one of the runners on the base paths. And I remember on one occasion, the fielding team actually started chasing him in a rundown play when he was already out. And as it turned out, there's a runner on third base who scored on the play. And they're chasing this guy who's already out. So you could see he got away with that one. He also loved to try and sell the play at first base, and on a close play he would often yell out, "Got him, I've got him," and he'd start waving his arms around in excitement just to try and convince the umpire that perhaps that close play was out. And often he did do that. He also liked to pretend that when he got a ball thrown at first base, if it landed in the ground or on the dirt, that it got past him. And so he'd actually turn around and start running in foul territory with the ball in his glove, once again hoping that the runner would take off for second base. And that worked a couple of times as well. Mossy had an interesting relationship with baseball umpires over the years. He thought he knew what the strike zone was, the balls and strikes when he was batting, and often he thought the umpires didn't. And sometimes he told them so, not very subtly. I remember one classic exchange Mossy had with an umpire. This umpire was giving him the irrits all day, and he said to the umpire, "I'm not allowed to call you an idiot, is that right?" The umpire said, "Yes, but I'm allowed to think you're an idiot, is that right?" And the confused umpire foolishly said, "Yes." So Mossy said, I'm thinking you're an idiot." And he got away with that. So that was what he was like. Just a couple of little snippets there, playing with Graham on the baseball field. Graham had a great sense of history of Fitzroy Baseball Club. He knew the club was a grand old club. It was formed in 1889. In fact, he found out that the club was formed in 1889 when he went through the old minutes of the Fitzroy Cricket Club. Book was stored away in some out-of-the-way place, and actually found the minutes that stated that Fitzroy Baseball Club was to be formed as a subsection of the Fitzroy Cricket Club in 1889. The achievements of some of the Fitzroy greats, like Ponsford, Neil Harvey, the Harvey brothers, Jack Potter, Eddie Illingworth, and Ted Sedgman. Hold on, it's a mystery. Actually, Ted paid me to say that. But look, Graham also played a number of seasons at Preston alongside the legendary Don Deeble. He coached junior teams there, and one of his young charges was Don's son, John Deeble, who is the current Australian baseball coach and Olympic coach. So he had some great success with junior players. Now, I suppose if we had kept playing records over the 125 years history of our great club, he would undoubtedly rank as the all-time leading home run hitter, probably the most number of assists at first base, and possibly the most number of first 9 games played in the history of the club. I mean, statistically, he wasn't worried about that sort of thing, but that's a record of a club of 125 years, a record second to none. A fantastic achievement. Whatever happened during a game was forgotten after the game. He loved to chat and mix with opposition players and supporters. In his case, with a soft drink in hand rather than the usual beer. He was well respected in the baseball community for his knowledge of the game and his long service to the game. And of course, we acknowledge that by making him a legend of the club and a life member at Fitzroy, and also a life member at La Trobe Uni Baseball Club, when he played with a ball. Not bad for a boy from Collingwood Tech. But perhaps his greatest legacy is the time and effort he put into attracting young kids to the sport, coaching many junior teams over the years. He gave kids, especially those from less affluent areas, an important outlet in sport, a positive and supporting environment that hopefully instilled in them discipline and team spirit, and also something that they could use in their own lives. He followed the fortunes of his junior players who made representative teams, regularly going to watch them play in provincial tournaments, national championships around Victoria. He would follow their progress with great interest and pride, whether they were representing the club, the association or the state of Victoria. In his later years, when he played in the lower teams and the Masters at Ballarat, Mossy thought he was a pretty good pitcher. He relished the opportunity to get on the mound and pitch. And as he put it, at the very least I'll go and throw some strikes, which he did. His favourite pitch was the big looping curveball. He loved throwing it. Well, as we all go through our own lives, life throws us a lot of curveballs. And unfortunately, 2 weeks ago, that's what we had to face when we heard the terrible news of Graham's passing. The measure of this man is the great respect we all have for his accomplishments on the sporting field and the enormous influence he had on generations of baseballers, both on and off the field. All I can say is to Graham, goodbye mate. I've known you for the most part of my life. We will all miss you, and baseball games at Merry Park will never be quite the same without you around. Thank you.
Sorry, according to the booklet, we'll just go out of order a bit here. I'm sorry to Hank, but I think in the interests of keeping the time frame in line, I think we'll ask Hank to come up and speak about Mossy's many, many years at Telecom.
Mossy was the sort of bloke who, we didn't have mobile phones in those days, and he'd call around and see if your job's going all right and help you out. We all thought he was a real good bloke, but then it turned out he wasn't really squeaky clean. He got bloody Normie a job. So that was it. I reckon Normie, no, I better call him Normie McHenry, can't say the other thing, probably set telecommunications in Australia back 20 years. But no, he was like, nobody's going to get up here, and nobody in the world would bag Mossy. He was the greatest bloke of all time. He was always there to give you a hand. And like I said, on Saturdays we used to get the big commander jobs, and you'd have the boss of the job, and he might get 5, 6 blokes helping him out. And one particular Saturday, we were working with Mossy, there's 4 or 5 of us, and we had this stick on tape. So I don't know whether you understand communications at all, but you've got the duct. So instead of drilling the duct into the wall, use this stick on tape. So Normie decided to use this tape, and he just got the flat lid up there. Then we've got to put the cables in it and try and get the duct shut, you know. Mossy called past and looking at us, and I'm trying to bloody hide it all, you know, because the blokes get a bit shitty. It had to be one of the other blokes like Patterson or Mick McHugh, they go crazy. But Mossy just looked at it and said, oh, well, yeah, that's another way of doing it. But nothing sort of phased him. And then probably one of the great things I remember is the old Warrnambool trips. Like every May, Miles would get organised at the bus. They'd get the bus on the day before. Then Mossy and bloody Normie, they'd be driving the bus, and there was a team of half the blokes from Telstra and a few from the footy club, you know. They pick us up at about 7 o'clock, so we opened the first can. We didn't drink till we got past Murray Road, so about 7:05. And, you know, Mossy was just fantastic, because you imagine some of these blokes, they can't handle a drink at the best of times, and like starting at that hour, all day at Warrnambool, and then, you know, had to drive us home. And Mossy wouldn't just drive you to a point, he'd drive everybody home. Then he'd clean the bus, then they'd take the bus back the next day. And he didn't do that once, he did it for 15 years in a row, you know, and he never cracked it, he just kept looking after us, and, you know, we didn't know what we were doing, but that was the measure of the man. Now, and I can't say a great deal for the Telstra and Telecom days, because as I said, we're all sort of in our different groups, but I know he was one to always, as I said before, always to help you out and get behind you, and he was just a, well, that was sort of like he was. Now, what Chris said before about this black and white thing, I reckon in the end he voted for Collingwood. He would never admit it, but I reckon he did. So, yeah, did you? Yeah. Oh, that'd be right, yeah. Yeah, so, no. So that's another black mark against him, but... you know, I followed a few of his dogs, that was another black mark against him. But, look, in the end, all I'll say is, my uncle used to always say, how to judge, to measure a man is, would you trust the man with the water bottle in the desert? And gentlemen, ladies of course, Graham Moss you could trust. Thank you very much.
Next, I'd like you to introduce you to Catherine Harbinson. Mossy absolutely loved working at St Vincent's, and he told us often how much he liked the people there, including Milesy, Marta and the penguins. He liked telling me about the big medical words that he learned from sorting the mail as well. So.
The last two guys are pretty hard act to follow. Graham's association with St Vincent's spans over 30 years. As you've just heard, initially as the telecom tech assigned to us, and most recently as a member of our staff. Mossy would backfill Chris when he was on leave, and invariably during these times at least one department would have a major relocation. Graham always said that Chris lined it up. But he'd always just laugh and go, "It's okay mate, I'll sort it out." And I knew that every detail, plus a few more, a few desks, whatever, would always get taken care of. Nothing was ever a problem for Mossy. His unique ability and willingness to take on any task saw him working for both IT and environmental services. And IT scared the pants off him originally, but he was the man to go to. Always on a regular basis, he'd say, "It's all right, I'll sort it out." Doesn't matter what it was. However, when it came to the mailroom, Mossy was most at home. He would come in early every day, get a head start for the girls sorting the mail. Then this extended being the chief toast maker, paper fetcher, and anything else he could do to help the girls. During the past few weeks, more people I could ever imagined have shared stories with Graham. And these stories came from all different areas within the hospital. They were people from the gym, people from other departments, other sites, even our vendors, contractors. But one of the most common things that was always said, almost without fail, was that he was a gentleman. And he was a gentleman not just in the fact that he had great manners, but in the fact that he was a gentle man. And, you know, they're rare. People like Mossy are a privilege to know, and I feel very privileged to have known him for the last 13 years. Thanks.
So Chris touched on a couple of things that I was going to say, but Mossy was a member of our coterie group down here, and those windows are part of his doing. So he helped out many clubs. So as most of you know, Mossy, he didn't like being late. His shift at St Vincent started at 9 a.m, but he was there no later than 7 a.m. The gym or the pool didn't open till 6, but he was first in line there at 5:30, hail, rain or shine. So as not to be late, he had not one, not two, but 3 alarm clocks. And he was rapt when our admin girl, Jenny Luckhurst up there, gave him an iPhone, and he could use that as his 4th alarm. So the first one went off at 4 in the morning. Unbelievable. You were talking about the cat before, and that was, he used to love telling that story, the fish and chips every Friday night, and he'd always leave the door open and wake up in the morning, the cat would be on the end of the bed. But when the cat finally went, I said to him, well, what's going on now with, for meals on a Friday night? He goes, well, I've gone to fried rice now. He goes, but it's hard, he goes, because I can never decide whether to have 6 fried or 16 dim sims. But most of the time the fried would win out. And but he was never happy with Coles supermarkets. Whenever he went there and he come through the checkout, he come in the next day, he goes, I had those bloody donuts on sale again for $1. He goes, I had all 6 of them again. He fancies himself as a Homer Simpson, I think. And you touched on about the Collingwood betting, and well, he's done it again this year. I found the tote tickets there, which I must hand over. Although now they're going good, I could keep them, Hank. Nobody would ever know. But he still talked about Peter Sumich from 1990. Geez, he had the shits with him when he missed that goal. He wasn't the only one, but. And well, when the Pies won in 2010, he was dirty on Stephen Milne for not getting that ball. He reckons he should have got it. But I don't know if most of you know, but most of that money went to the St Vincent's Foundation. He won from that. So when Graham, when he left Telstra and he started St V's, there was only limited work for him. So Catherine, not wanting to lose him, and I definitely didn't want to lose him, she found a job in the cashier's office. Stella's up here, the manager of Environmental, got him a job in the cashier's office from 3 o'clock till 8 o'clock in the afternoon. Now, even most of you know he hated dealing with other people's money, but he took the job on not to offend anybody. So after Mossy's first shift, I inquired, how did you enjoy it? He said, oh mate, he goes, it was so hard. He goes, but no worries. He goes, I'm prepared for today's shift. I go, what have you done? He goes, I've been to the bank. I go, what do you mean you've been to the bank? He goes, well, there's so many old people come up with their card, and I tell them how much it is, and they didn't realise they had to pay and that, so I just authorised the ticket and I put the money in out of my own pocket. That's true. So he lasted a couple of weeks in that job because the outgoings were killing the incomings. And look, just a couple of Telstra ones. We used to, when we lost the Z cars with the Z number plates, so we had to start, we could start getting booked, and Telstra wasn't happy about that, so we had to put money in the meters and that. So you go in and you say how much money you put in the meter, and they refund you. And but they weren't happy with the admin side of it, so they just decided to give us, I think it was $30 a pay, parking money. Well, Mossy, he wasn't happy with this because he didn't spend the money. He didn't pay for the parking. And so he tried to get him to stop it, but they kept putting in his pay. So he'd get $30 worth of coins, he'd put them in an envelope, and he'd mail them to Frank Blunt. Now, Frank Blunt was the CEO of Telstra. Now, this went on for 4 weeks until the message finally got down to admin and they stopped putting it into his pay. And the other one he upset Telstra with was when we used to get paid by a cheque, and so Mossy loved that, got his cheque, he'd go and bank it, and then they decided they're going to put it straight, direct debit straight in their bank account. He refused to give him his bank account details, would not give it, and he kept getting a cheque. I think it was more like 15 years after anybody got a cheque in Telstra. And that was Mossy. Fantastic bloke, and his favourite saying was, do you need a hand? What a great man. Thank you.